Mohan, just about everybody in this room knows that you've been with Infosys. You are the CFO, HR, you instituted stock option plans, you've got over 160,000 people, you trained over 250,000 people. I mean, it's sort of, they're just numbers, you know. And you did all that, and at the height of your career, you completely disrupted your career and went into Manipal Group. So what was that decision like? Why did you make that huge change?
Well, I wanted my life back because it was 14-hour workday, 7 days a week, traveling around the world, building a great company. And I spent 17 years watching an industry come up and transform India. I saw a country getting transformed, and I saw a company create great standards and transforming itself and becoming one of the world's greatest companies. Then I said, I realized what I set out to do, that is to set standards and to work and create a great company. And said I wanted my life back to spend time on what interests me and what I want to do the rest of my life. So I left and said I want to go.
Yeah.
It is a tough decision, but
You know, it's interesting. I've been away from India since 1983. I came back for the first time really for an extended time in 2000, 2001. And I remember with Kamran Ilai and visiting Infosys, and Mohandas was showing us, this is where our first cafeteria is going to be, the first building going to be. Just amazing to see, you know, the journey. Now you're on to a next journey where you are disrupting 2-3 different fields. So first, let's talk about disrupting the field of startups. You know, now, being an entrepreneur is actually fashionable as opposed to being something nobody will support. There's a lot of venture capital companies here, and still a lot more needs to be done in India. So in what way the investments you're doing or the ecosystem you're building disrupting the startup ecosystem?
See, we have set up about 10 funds now, and the funds work across various asset classes. In technology, life sciences, we have a hedge fund, we have a mid-cap funds to work on a PE approach in the marketplace. Then we have a fund for India's first fund for women entrepreneurs. And we have a deep technology fund, we have a semiconductor chip design fund, and many thing else. Now, if people in India don't understand what is happening in the startup space. Let me give you some data. India has 18,000 startups at this moment. There's a $75 billion value already there. 300,000 people are employed. In the next 10 years, we estimate there'll be 100,000 startups in India. The value of these startups will be $500 billion. So great money to be made and great value to be created. And there's going to be 3.5 million people employed. And every year we get about 3.5, 4,000 startups coming up in this country. And they're solving India's problems. They're leveraging technology to solve India's problems. And they're going to change the face of India in very different ways. Because what India needs is hundreds of thousands of problem solvers. We've got huge problems. We don't have enough problem solvers. And this is allowing these problem solvers to come, create business models, and create great value, and disrupt the marketplace in new ways that we don't think is possible. So I'm working with them in the policy area to make the life easier in terms of working with SEBI to bring in a listing requirement that have been changed, working with the Reserve Bank of India to ease foreign exchange regulations for them, taxation issues. We talked to government about a startup policy, which they're going to do. We are working with various state governments because this country is young. It is 27 years in terms of average age, and we need to give them a dream. And we need to give them a dream which they can do in their own country rather than going overseas. In the IT industry, we solved America's problems. We solved Europe's problem. We solved a little bit of India's problem, but we couldn't do it because they're so very small. Now India has become a $2.25 trillion economy, and we'll be a $10 trillion economy by 2030. So this huge growth in India is going to be driven by startups, is going to be driven by entrepreneurship, and is going by great disruption that's happening. And I think we're going to see change. And that's why I said I must spend my next 10 years there. And I'm working harder than ever, doing more things than ever, having a great time. I thought you wanted
your life back.
I got my life back, but I'm not spending time at home, and that worries me.
Yeah. So, right now there's a lot of focus on e-commerce. I mean, you've said about 9 areas. So after e-commerce, what are a couple of sectors that you think are going to be really big in India?
I think the sector that's going to get disrupted is energy. Solar energy will be cheaper than grid energy in 2 years in the United States. Solar energy right now is cheaper than grid energy for 40% of India. They're selling solar energy at 5.20 rupees per unit. And I think if efficiency goes to 25%, and the lab has seen 25%, solar energy will come down even more. Solar energy could meet 40-50% of the world's energy primarily because you need grid stability, so you need coal and other forms of energy for the balance. But I think in another 15, 20 years, solar energy is going to totally disrupt the way that we're going to lead our lives. And solar energy is going to disrupt the oil industry. The oil industry is a $5 trillion industry. Now, because the price come to 2.5, and if 60, 70% of the oil is used by vehicles, and if Tesla succeeds, battery costs come down, batteries become smaller, in 20, 15 years' time, we're going to see 40, 50% of vehicles driven by solar energy. Just imagine you have a panel in the top of your house, 25% energy that comes in is converted into electrical energy, and you store it in a storage device, you plug in your car, and you get free energy. And if that happens, you know, climate change, so many issues can be addressed. That's being disrupted. And the next is education. I think in education, there are two areas. The first area is a regulatory aspect where you have a course curriculum, you have a regulator, and you have a teacher, you have an academic council, you have credits, etc. Now, that will remain because people want control. And it moves very slowly. But in the learning area, things are getting disrupted. Today, every individual can have differentiated learning, rich multimedia, rich content. The MOOCs is taking off, courses of your own, and then they can have their own assessment, their own quizzes. They can test themselves. They can learn languages asynchronously, leveraging technology 24/7. So you and I can have an individual learning experience in our colleges. And very soon, I envisage 10, 15 years, there'll be a virtual university which will allow you to take credits from various institutions, like maybe an IIT Delhi, IIT Mumbai, maybe a Yale, maybe a Stanford, maybe a Manipal, and accumulate all those courses and put it together for a custom design degree, which will be given by this virtual university, and employers are going to buy that. Because the degree today is a signaling device. It means that, you know, you are something. So from a signaling device, you go on to a test for employment, but this will be there. So I think we're going to see great disruption in the learning space in education. It's already happening in India. They've got some wonderful companies doing that. But I think that's going to change the way we educate our children and where people get educated globally.
See, even now in education system, when people come out, a lot of them are not employment ready. I mean, in Infosys, you pretty much have a whole university. You're retraining all of them. So in this disruption of education that we are talking about, what are the sort of things that we need to do to actually put some general knowledge, so to speak, so that they're employment ready when they come out?
Lakshmi, the biggest disruption will be Digital India. Just imagine 1.27 billion Indians have access to the internet, the accumulated knowledge of humankind and everything that is free, and they got access to a mobile, which is cost 2,000-3,000 rupees, to Wi-Fi 3G, or a tablet. Imagine every child in school from Standard 6 has got a tablet which gives access to rich multimedia. The child will learn by itself. The child will get exposed. The child will Google and find out what is happening in the world. So 30-40% of education that's given here can be done. Maybe the child will find an individual tutor. You and I could tutor a child somewhere in Jharkhand 1 hour a day. And just imagine this experience that's going to come. If all of them come on this, and in 5-6 years our children get that, you have made a new child, new individual who is digitally connected, digitally knowledgeable, and understands everything else. Today, you don't have to memorize so things because you ask a question on Google and you get an answer from all the people in the world. So you get answers. The key is, how do you use this information to solve problems? How do you get all this and build the components to understand how to solve a complex problem? And that can be done by giving access, by technology. So I think this is what is going to happen. Even though you say they're not ready, once they get this access, they start self-learning, I think it'll be fantastic.
Yeah, and also there is a question of now we have a lot of universities, including the largest ones run by you, by your organization. What do you think is going to be the future of universities? Is there going to be more research, more higher education? What do you think is necessary in India?
I think the universities in India have to change the way they deal with students. They got to treat them like colleagues, have much more hands-on project work, give them access to great information, and they got to help them solve problems and identify problems. We need open book exams. I don't see why we should write an exam sitting and memorizing. We need to give them questions, but the problem is faculty. We got 1.2 million faculty in all our universities. They need to be trained. And once you become a faculty anywhere in the world, you are resistant to change because you got a nice career going forward. And then we need public funding for research. We don't have enough public funding. We spend very much less. We are all teaching universities. And we got a major problem of access. For example, we got 30 million young people in colleges, 750 universities, 47,000 colleges. And by 2030, we'll have 70 million. Only 23% of our youngsters age group of 18 to 23 go to college. And every mother wants the child to go to college. And by 2030, we'll have the largest university system in the world. We are right now number 2. So when you have this explosion coming, the only way you're going to handle is by using technology. And so universities have to change. They must understand what is happening. Regulators have to change. Our biggest barriers is that this is tightly controlled by government and regulators. So what is getting disrupted is the learning experience. And the learning experience, once it becomes so big, is going to disrupt the university because the value of a degree is going to come down. If the signaling device and you know what you are, and employees say that, look, I'm going to hire you on different consideration, you can as well do your own courses on MOOCs or the digital platform and get it certified by a global virtual university, and your employer will hire you. So why do you need a degree from a university and spend time thinking about the past when you've got to be prepared for the future? So I think globally is getting disrupted at the edge. Lakshmi, you know well that things get disrupted at the edge, and the base it is very small. So if you see the edge is getting disrupted, it's fantastic. The base is very large. It'll take many years, but it's happening.
So what kinds of change in policy need to come in India? Right now, if you want to do an online university, this is very difficult to do out of India.
You see, our regulators are stuck in the 19th century. They think control, issue a circular, and everything will change. We got to let this universities free. They must have their full autonomy to decide what they want. They must have a full autonomy to configure courses the way they want, to do the projects without any government interference, with a self-regulatory mechanism within and outside the university, and they must have access to research funding. So give them the freedom, don't interfere, don't issue circulars, and the good ones will grow, the bad ones will die. And then you must give money to students to pay fees. Because today, if you're poor, you go to a very bad university or a college because, you don't have money. But you and I, we send our kids to the best universities. So the gap between people who are poor and people who are rich is expanding, and public spending is coming down. When we went to college, we got a free education. Now, we don't get the free education because it's expensive. You've got to pay a lot to the faculty. People want to live well. So I think you've got to fund the students, let go the university, give them freedom, create a research fund so they can have access to research on a competitive basis. If you do these things, in 10, 15 years, we'll have some really world-class universities. Right now, I think quality is worse than what it was in 1947 because of governmental interference and lack of freedom.
So we are talking about your second disruption. You're into education, energy, a lot of things. If I were to ask you, what would be, if there were to be a next disruption, what would it be? Would you go into politics? Would you go be a policymaker? What would you like to do?
No, I think we need citizens' action. See, today, in this, a democracy is a system of competitive lobbies. In India, there's a caste lobby, there's a religious lobby, there's a regional lobby, and there are all kinds of lobbies which hustle together to get what they want. And it's a competitive lobby. You've got a media lobby, and they're doing all kinds of funny things in the media right now. But we don't have a middle-class lobby. We need a lobby for educated middle-class people who want stability in their lives, good governance, less corruption, and an increase in the quality of life. So I'm trying to create a platform. We've done it in Bangalore called BPAC, Bangalore Political Action Committee, a platform where we're going to demand policy changes and tell our political leaders that these people are your voters. So get them to register as voters, ask them to come and vote, and we endorse candidates, we give them money. And if all people in this country think we're going to get good governance, we're going to get a corruption-free regime without paying for it, they're out of their mind. Let me give you the instance. If all of us think there are a group of people in this country who are going to invest their money, compromise in the future of the children, contest elections, invest their own money, come to power, and give us good governance, we must be cuckoo. Because, we don't pay money. Right. How many of us in this room have paid money to political parties for elections? We don't pay money. Where will they get money? We as middle-class people who have a stake in the future have to give money to any party of a choice to contest the election. It's 100 rupees, 1,000 rupees, 110 rupees. Give it voluntarily and fund their election campaign and demand performance. Right. Then it will act. So we're creating a platform to bring about governance change because it has to be a citizen action. Otherwise, our future is being compromised by fringe elements. They're capturing the media, they're capturing media attention, defaming India, getting India a bad name. The rest of us, 99% of people in this country want a peaceful life, a quiet life. They want their children to come up. They want innovation. They want growth. They want to see the income grow up. They want a house. They want the good things of life. They don't want conflicts. But we are getting hostage to this 1% because the 99% don't talk, and in that, the middle class has to lead the way. So I'm spending the next 10 years in this area to improve governance, creating platform, not getting into politics. It means you interact with political leaders. Correct. You don't get into electoral politics system. Because that requires a different mindset which we don't have. We'll all fail. So I think we have to be pressure groups and we have to get governance going.
Great. So big round of applause for all the work that you're doing.